All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am Royce, Director of Digital Marketing here at Artform, and I'm joined by CEO of Artform, Janet Waring. So today we're going to talk about leveraging content, generative AI, and SEO to stand out as a thought leader in your industry. And if you haven't seen the first part of this webinar series, I encourage you to watch that one as well. It's on our website. In that one, we dig into practical uses of generative AI and in relation to marketing and advertising campaigns.
Oops, I advanced it too much. Sorry, Royce.
No problem. All right, so first, let's zoom out and answer the question, what is SEO? So in simpler terms, SEO is basically the process of making your website more visible in search engine results pages, or SERPs for short. When people search for topics that you're an expert in, you want your website to appear as high up in those results as possible, as you know. This will help attract more high intent visitors to your website. So these are people who are more likely to take an action, your intended action on your website, and also to really establish yourself as a thought leader in that field. Yep, just a simple get to know, terms to know, SERP, search engine result pages. We're going to talk about that a lot in this webinar. All right. And Google's August update. So Google is and continues to be the leader in the search engine game, as many of you know. So they make up roughly 90% of searches, and they continue to invest in new technologies and advance their own technologies. So I think at one point, YouTube was the second largest search engine for videos, of course, which is owned by Google. So Google was just owning the entire industry at one point. And roughly each quarter, Google updates their indexing algorithm in what they call core updates. So you'll see an example here on the screen of what that core update looks like. We won't dig into the nitty gritty of it, but it basically tells you what they did technically and how that impacts just searchability and the user experience on the searcher's end. So these serve as updates to make the process, the search process, more seamless, and like I said, more accurate for the end user.
Right, and I included here just a screenshot from Twitter or X of the Google Search Central. One of the questions that I get asked most often is, how do I stay up to date on all this? And Twitter or X is one of the best ways to do it. I just follow the different Google accounts and different experts in the industry to, to hear the discussion on how it's affecting everything. But if it's something that you want to stay up with, I recommend following Google Search Console for sure. And they also have a YouTube channel. They put something out every week about the updates and algorithm changes and how it's affecting your site.
All right. So Google has a bunch of different updates that they do regularly. This was an interesting one. So just this month, actually, I think a few days ago, or the September 14th, this was Google's helpful content update that was just released. So basically what this update, the purpose of this is to weed out content that is written for the purpose of ranking in search engines, which should not help or inform people. So Google got really smart at being able to tell what content pieces or what type of content or pages are purely there for rankability and for visibility, and it just serves no purpose to the end user. So they're beginning to weed that out. And Google said this update will, quote unquote, tackle content that seems to have been primarily created for ranking well in search engines. And the update will help make sure that unoriginal, low quality content doesn't rank highly in search. And also, in the words of Google, if you're producing helpful content, then you don't need to do anything. In fact, this system may be good for your site as it is designed to reward helpful content, which is great. All right, another interesting change that was made. So this came out of Google Search's helpful content system update, and this is in their language, or the language in their disclaimer. So first, this is the before up top. You'll see it's written as helpful content written by people, for people in search results. This was intentionally changed to helpful content created for people in search results. So notice that they took out the by people. This was most likely due to the surplus of generative AI tools out there and just its impact on content generation now. And of course, they rolled out their new generative AI tool called Bard, which is similar to ChatGPT.
Right. So this will be really interesting because I feel like they had to get rid of the written by people because they're in the generative AI space as well. But yet their latest September update, the sole purpose of that was to find, people that it used to be keyword stuffing. Now it's AI stuffing pages to rank higher. So this will definitely be something that we're keeping an eye on how Google handles all of this. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting take that they took that out. So, and for the purpose of this webinar, if you're trying to be a thought leader, if you visit a site with one blog or a page about a topic, do you consider them a thought leader or an expert? So ask yourself, what makes someone a thought leader or an expert in their field? And, we're going to be showing you how to be the expert. So Google's automated systems are designed to use many different factors to rank great content. So after identifying relevant content, Google's systems aim to prioritize those that they seem most helpful. So to do this, they identify a mix of factors that can help determine which content demonstrates the aspects of experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, or what is referred to as EAT. Of these aspects, trust is the most important. So others contribute to trust, but content doesn't necessarily have to demonstrate all of them. Content might be helpful based on the experience that it demonstrates, while other content might be helpful because of the expertise that it shares. So while EAT itself isn't a specific ranking factor, using a mix of factors that can identify content with good EAT is important and is a ranking factor. So before we get into the meat of the webinar, I want to be clear that we are making some assumptions that if you are ready to be a thought leader, that you've completed basic market research so that you've identified your target audience, including job titles, demographics, locations, etc., and that you've done product or servicing positioning exercise and you know how to position yourself in your ideal market. You can clearly articulate your value proposition and your unique attributes, and that you've done your competitor analysis and you know what keywords they're ranking for and found gaps and opportunities that have influenced your own keyword research. So these are just assumptions that we're making as we're using prompting AI. We're going to be prompting with some of this information. But if you haven't completed these things, it's okay, but it's much more effective for generative AI prompting if you have this information already available when you're writing thought leader content. So as we're diving into this, I want to just note that with ChatGPT, you can set it up to align with your voice and your expertise. So, and this is only on the paid version. So when I'm using ChatGPT, it already knows that I'm a marketer, the CEO with 30 years of experience. It knows my location. This is all the information up here. About what I'm considered an expert in, about the books that I've written. And then down here, I write about the professional but friendly tone of voice and that I want my content to engage and educate. So when I use ChatGPT, it already has that in there and it's customized for me. But if you don't have the paid plan or you're using another generative AI tool that doesn't allow you to customize, you have to make sure you include all that information in the prompts so that it knows what type of voice that you want to be using and it knows the expertise and point of view that it should be writing from. The other thing, if you have the paid version of ChatGPT, is to make sure you turn on some of the beta features like the code interpreter. I can't think of the other one right now, but there's things within ChatGPT and it's changing weekly, sometimes daily. And if you don't have those things toggled to on, you won't be able to test them out. So, okay. So use AI to suggest a topical sitemap around your area of expertise. So to be considered an expert, you must show a depth and breadth of knowledge. So let's start by setting up our example. So in the example that we're going to use today in the webinar, we're a cybersecurity company who's responding to an RFP for higher education cybersecurity. So let's start by asking what are some of the problems higher education has in cybersecurity so that we can write to those issues. So the prompt that I'm using here is, what are some common problems a CISO at a university would be trying to solve? So this is the response from ChatGPT, and it is a pretty good list. And it goes into the second page as well. But my next step would be to take this information over to my sales team and ask if any of these issues particularly stand out based on RFIs or RFPs, because I want to make sure that we're aligning our thought leadership to what our sales team is going after.
And what you'll see is that there will be a lot of back and forth where you'll get questions. You'll have to go back and reprompt, readjust. That way you can get the most specific or the most accurate set of topic maps.
Yeah, great point. And so it's here, as you can see, the response continued. It has, the topic and then subtopics underneath it. And I wanted to note, Bard came out with something a few weeks ago. So I put this in Bard as well, and the responses were almost identical. But the interesting thing with Bard that I like that you can do is that you can fact check by clicking the icon down at the Google icon down at the bottom. It will help you fact check the results. So if it's green, it's, as it says here, Google has found content that's likely similar to the statement. And it'll list down at the bottom of the page where you can find links to back up the statements that Bard has made. And otherwise, it will prompt in this orange color, and that's letting you know that Google couldn't find anything to support the statements that it's made. So it's a great way to fact check the information that you're putting out. Another fun thing that you can do with Bard if you have Google Workspace is you can ask it to put its results into a table. So you can see here, it's got the blog topics on the left side and the long tail keywords I asked for on the right side. And then down at the bottom, I can export directly to Sheets. So that's a great feature and time saver as well. If you're doing a lot of research, just ask it to be in a table form and it'll bring it directly to Sheets for you. I feel like a little Bard commercial. Okay, so to be considered an expert, you must show a depth and breadth of knowledge. So we're going to use ransomware as our example in this one, and now prompt AI to build a topical map for us around this area of expertise. So my prompt is, please suggest a topical map for my blog that has the best chance of ranking for long tail keywords that are specific to my keyword. And in this case, I used ransomware, and give each an engaging title. Provide a list of 10 titles and prioritize transactional and intent topics. Next to each title, provide the best long tail keyword phrase that title should be targeting. Do not duplicate the keyword phrases, and my target audience is, and in this place, I put CISOs at universities. So this is the response from ChatGPT, and you can see here that ChatGPT has given us a nice list of titles and long tail keywords that we can now take and compare against our own keyword research and competitor research, as well as the wording in our RFIs and RFPs to make sure that we're producing and aligning to our audience and to the goals of the content. You can see that these titles are tailored to engage and educate CISOs at universities while focusing on transactional intent, making them more likely to take action.
And to even take a, oh, sorry, Janet.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and to even take it a step back, long tail keywords are really important because, we have those shorter tail keywords. Those are like the main broad keyword that we want to be ranking for. But if you really want to get into that search intent, what your target audience may be searching for, that's where you want to rely on those long tail specific keywords.
Yeah, great point. Intent is so important. Okay, and here is the response from Bard. So just laid out a little bit differently, but similar responses. But I like that the way this laid out, that Bard did it. It also provided a list of titles, topics, long tail keywords, but then broke it down further into a prioritized list, which I thought was really cool. And I love how it's, talking to us here. I prioritize the transactional intent topics first. They're most likely to lead to conversions. However, it's important to have a mix of both transactional and informational content on your blog. So it's just educating us as it goes, but I thought this was really helpful. Okay, so like I said, in this example, we use ransomware, universities. So now you go back to that topical map and you just keep repeating that process. So after you've identified the topics that you want to be a thought leader, you just keep repeating it. And the more content you have out there, the more authoritative that you'll be. So then you can also use the AI to generate the outlines for each of the topics, but I don't recommend that you have AI write the full blogs. And if you want more information about how to do this, the webinar that we gave before that is linked. And Abby, if you don't mind throwing the link to the webinar in the chat, we go through this process of how to create the content and distribute the content in a marketing campaign in our other webinar that we did. But I have, you can have it write the outlines, but then I'd have your subject matter experts actually write the blogs themselves. And having an outline is so much better than staring at a blank piece of paper. So it's a great way to go. Okay, so once you've had your content written, now you can ask generative AI how some social media post suggestions for distributing the content. So this prompt that I used is, we sell ransomware protection software to higher education. Please write social posts with value propositions for our product ABC that address each of these problems. So I named our product ABC because since it's open source, you don't want to give away the name of your products or any identifying information. So just give your products other names. I'm sure you guys are more creative than me with ABC, but that's what I did in this. And so you can see that the results here for the social post, this is from ChatGPT, and it's included the value proposition and it's promoting my product ABC. It's included hashtags, the little emoji lock. So this is pretty good. And again, if you watch our webinar, you can see how you can use Canva to take these and make these posts really easy out on social media. Royce, I'll kick this back to you.
All right. Great. So as we talked about earlier in the webinar about the way Google ranks its pages, it's also important to tag and categorize your content correctly. This is another thing that generative AI can help you with. So the prompt you'll see here is, please recommend 10 categories and tags I should use for these blogs on my website. So this will help you take some of the guesswork out of the best way to categorize and add these taxonomies to these content pieces. So for example, this gave us a few options such as ransomware, cybersecurity, higher education, which are all very broad. And then also gave us a few tags. Think of those as those longer tail keywords, but before your organization. So we can add these to our content whenever we're organizing them on the website, and this will help with SEO value as well. And once again, you can use these categories and tags to organize the blogs. And basically what this does is it makes it easier for your target audience to find the information that they're trying to navigate to. Like I said before, it really helps with SEO. And even from a user experience perspective, think about it this way. You go to a website, you go to their blog section, you want to be able to navigate to like content, find just all of the similar types of content in one place. And of course, with AI, any type of AI, it's really important to verify any information that it gives you. That's why Bard has that Google checker, and it's very helpful, the one that Janet had shown in the previous slide. Here at Artform, we still use our own keyword research tools, including, there's Google Trends, BuzzSumo, SpyFu, to name a few. Any of those third-party tools that you're currently using, they're not ready to put on the shelf just yet. Keep leveraging that, keep using that to fact check, keep using that to verify.
Great. So now we're going to get into page structure, which is really important for SEO and also for UX. So I gave this prompt to both ChatGPT and Bard, and I was really surprised that ChatGPT was so much better than Bard, because it was interesting to me that I didn't start a new chat with either one of them, which is a tip that you can just keep the conversation going with AI. And whereas ChatGPT kept the same flow, knew the audience, knew what I was trying to do, Bard started all over again. And, even though I was in the same chat, it gave me page structure that didn't make sense. So that was interesting. But the prompt that I use is, please suggest a page structure for a ransomware page on my website. I want it to be structured for readability and SEO. So Chat GPT's response, note the section headers, the H1, identified H1, H2, H3. Again, all of this is really important for technical SEO. Let me go to the next page. It even gave information and suggestions for additional resources, for FAQs, what to include in the footer. So I felt like ChatGPT did a much better job than Bard on this one. But remember to include relevant keywords naturally throughout the content, and consider internal and external linking where appropriate, which is really important as well.
And one other thing that you can do as well in the prompt is ask, hey, if there is a lead generation or some sort of conversion action that you want on this page, you can say, give me a few suggestions on calls to action within the content. So if you want someone to download a white paper, to subscribe to a newsletter, or even reach out the big ask, you can also filter that or prompt that as well.
Great point.
All right. So once you do build out a page, you can take that page's content, put it into your AI prompt, and ask it if it's been optimized correctly for the keyword that you're trying to rank for. So for example, this is the prompt that we used. Is this page properly optimized for the search term, insert keyword? So here, ransomware. Does it include enough semantic variations? If not, please suggest changes and put the changes in bold text.
Okay, and for this example, I actually used an art form page. So, whereas if you want to speak through the results here, but we didn't do ransomware, I think I did a keyword. What keyword did I
Analytics
do?
reporting.
Analytics reporting on this one, right?
Yeah, correct. So yeah, so we ran that same prompt for analytics reporting. And while I like some of the suggestions it made, it doesn't really understand that when I'm talking about analytics and reporting, I'm talking about a service that we offer. Right now, it thinks that we're a software for analytics and reporting. So at this point, what I'll do is I'll continue to reprompt and to change the language in those prompts until it learns the context of my question or the query prompt. And as you'll see, it also gave us a few semantic variations. So going back to a previous slide here, Google can tell if you're stuffing your article for SEO value, which means you're just taking the same keyword, putting it in places that are maybe not the most contextually relevant or sound. So you want to make sure that you have variations of that keyword or semantic variations scattered throughout your blog or your article as well. So this is what we have here. For example, we have marketing and analytics reporting tools, reporting best practices, etc.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have our content ready to go. It's loaded on the back end. We're about to hit launch. First, I want to get a meta description for both my page and my category. So notice that we prompted, please provide suggested meta description for this page in that exact same chat as the previous slide. We don't have to reprompt it. Everything is already there. Context is already generated. And so we don't have to ask who this audience is for, because at this point it should kind of learn, quote unquote, learn who we're trying to speak to. And it gave us a great example here. Explore Assista's comprehensive guide to combating ransomware in higher education. Learn about prevention measures, response strategies, and financial implications. Secure your universities today. So with meta descriptions, of course, there are character count limits. A lot of these are about best practice 150 characters. So what I would do here as well, go back to that prompt, say, hey, this is great. Reduce this to 150 characters or fewer. And they're pretty good at reducing the character count while still keeping the meat of the topic. And other considerations for SEO. So it's important to remember that Google is also constantly changing its SERP page. And you can absolutely try to rank for these rich snippets. So for example, they have, I'm sure you've all seen this up top. It'll guess a question or an answer to the question based on the query that you put in the search. So that's a rich snippet, and you can absolutely try ranking for that. However, when you do rank for those features, such as more to ask or that snippet that we're showing up on screen, people can get their information right from the search page and will have no reason to click through. So it's kind of that balance there. On one side, this is great because you're seen as the authority and you're appearing first on the Google search page. But the negative thing is that you might not receive any clicks to the website. But for the sake of this, webinar, remember that the goal here is to establish yourself as a thought leader or be the most authoritative. So in this case, it's wonderful to have your rich snippet up top, front and center.
Right. And then you just need to learn how to report on this because as a marketer, you're usually reporting on the clicks and impressions, but if it shows up as a snippet, you're not getting any analytics on it at all. So you just have to make sure that you include in any reporting the fact that you have earned a snippet on the first page of Google.
All right. And also do not forget about your sitemap. So this is a feature in Google Search Console that allows you to manually upload your sitemap or the pages that should be indexed or searched by search engines, specifically Google for Google Search Console. And Google recently released an update where they discussed their sustainability initiatives last year. So this includes reducing the amount of energy that they use on crawling every crawlable web page on the internet, which, if you guessed, is a lot. So this means that you should really pay attention to what pages are being indexed, just making sure that everything is set up correctly in Google Search Console, since they're rolling back the amount of times that they will be indexing your website.
Right. It'd be a shame to create all this great content and then not have Google index it. And so Google, if you submit it through Google Console, it doesn't say that it will be indexed any faster, but our experience is that it absolutely is. So don't forget to submit it.
All right. One other huge consideration is a linking strategy. So links are and continue to be one of the most important ranking factors for Google and for search engines generally. The reason for this is because backlinks are seen as a signal of trust and authority. So if you think about it, when one website links to another, it's essentially saying that it trusts and endorses the other website. So this is a very important signal to search engines, since it suggests that the linked to website is high quality and a high quality of source of information. Backlinks can also help to improve a website's ranking in search results. So search engines use backlinks as one of many factors to determine how to rank websites in search results. And of course, this also really depends on the quality of that backlink. So you want to make sure that the domain that's linking back to your website is reputable, it's trustworthy, and it's basically saying the same about yours.
And Royce, can you talk about social media? That's a question I get asked a lot too. Is linking your articles to social media, does that count in a linking strategy?
Ooh, so it used to, not as much anymore because there's something called a no follow. A lot of forums in the chat sections of blogs and such, they created this no follow rule where any links that are thrown in there are not going to be crawled um, by Google or by search engines. Same with social media. The reason for this is because a lot of people were abusing this and saying, oh, LinkedIn or these other really huge forums, these are really reputable sites. This would look good linking back to me. And so, these forums, these big websites caught on and said, all right, we're going to stop being used um, as this liaison, this connection to boost someone else's SEO because it may be spam that is being backlinked. All right. And I will also say that, we're talking a lot about backlinking and the importance of it, and you can see and monitor who's linking to your website. There are a bunch of tools out there that'll give you this visibility. Um, and then, so just thinking about the type of content you'd like to create, you should consider the following, and just with that linking strategy and just assessment, whenever you do see which domains are linking back to you, think of the following. First, you want your inbound links from similar industries. So you want to make sure that, for example, our example here is, we're trying to do CISOs and higher education and ransomware. We don't want like a Trader Joe's to be linking back to us. As I mentioned on the previous slides as well, you want the linking sites to be highly authoritative and highly reputable. We'll talk about that in another point here, but you can assess this by, you can kind of tell which sites are spammy, but also there's a spam score that we can assess on a score of 1 to 100. The higher the spam score, the more likely this is a spammy website, and you do not want to be associated with those. Also, you want to check the context of the other web page linking to you. You want to make sure that the context of the page is that it's linking to you, that it's the same context. So not only the same industry, but contextually, you want it to be similar to the content that you are being linked to. And then finally, like I said, you want to make sure that that spam score is low as far as the other domain linking to you.
And what do you do if somebody's linking to you that you don't want linking to you?
So we can go ahead and disavow those links. There is a Google Search Console, once again, a great feature where you can upload these spammy links, say, hey, get these away from my website. They're doing nothing but hurting me. So it's a great feature.
And another thing I just thought about is we have done maintenance on websites before, and we get them and we look, and people have commenting turned on their blogs, but they're not monitoring it. And we'll just find in the back end of the website all of these links that are, not good links. So keep an eye on, if you have commenting turned on your website, keep an eye on that and make sure that people aren't, just dropping links in there.
All right. So how to measure success? So we have the content up. We're assuming it's been up for at least a quarter. And of course, we didn't drop all the content at one time. We put a calendar together and disseminated it on a regular basis. But now we have a great reporting cadence down, and ChatGPT 4.0 also has a great data analysis tool where we're able to upload files. So in this case, for this prompt, what we did is we took a report of all of the blogs that we had put up, and we reported on just these backlinks, the spam score of these backlinks, as well as organic traffic. Because at the end of the day, we want a lot of high organic traffic to our website. So we uploaded our report here, and the prompt that we asked it is review this report of backlinks and organic traffic to my website. Which blogs are generating the highest amount of inbound links? Which generated the highest amount of organic traffic in Q3? Also, which blogs generate the highest amount of spammy backlinks? Structurally, column A is the inbound link, column D is the link spam score, and column F is the organic traffic in Q3. So the reason why we talk about the structural organization of the report is because this data analysis tool is really great at comprehending the report and its structure, but it'll take maybe 4 or 5 steps. It'll say, okay, step number 2, I think I understand the way it's set up. Step number 3, no, I don't. Let me reread it. So this is kind of just cutting to the chase. So after prompting that, it gave us some great insights. And bear in mind that this is from a very small sample of hypothetical articles in a very concise report. So ideally, we'd want many more blogs to pull from, and we'd go way deeper with the questions that we're asking as far as insights go. But for the sake of this, it gave us some great insights. So first, the most authoritative blogs were the future of ransomware, what CISOs need to prepare for. And by authoritative, I mean the most inbound links. So what can we deduce from this? We can deduce that the more actionable content pieces, the how-tos, the how to protect students from ransomware, how to train staff, that these are yielding the most backlinks. A lot of other websites are seeing this as highly valuable. So we would think, okay, let's continue to use these outlines for future content pieces. Another one would be the second point here, the blog, how to budget for ransomware protection generated the highest amount of organic traffic. This means that people in Q3 at least are really searching for these types of questions. So budgeting, this is a topic that people are actively searching for. Let's continue creating content around that. And then finally, we have a piece of content, a case study that generated a lot of spammy backlinks. So as I said in the previous slide, what we do here is we would go to our Google Search Console or to our tools and see which of these spammy links are being linked back to us. And we would go ahead, disavow that, and just kind of clean up our case study. So there you have it. That was a beginning to end SEO thought piece, leadership piece. So, AI, generative AI keeps changing day to day. So here at Artform, we're staying up to date. We're staying up to date on the changes, the trends, new tools, obsolete tools. And we have, I think Abby just threw it in the chat, but a resource and newsletter that you should definitely sign up for if you want to stay in the loop.
And that's it. Well, we will get the slide deck out to you guys. And thank you all for attending.